Most people believe that saving money always improves their life. Spend less, save more, be responsible. And on the surface, that sounds right. But there is a point where saving stops helping and starts quietly making things worse. Worse sleep, worse health, more stress, lower quality of life. And the dangerous part is this: it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like discipline. It feels like being smart. But over time, those small savings can cost far more than the money you kept. Being cheap rarely feels like a mistake. Most of the time, it feels like being responsible. You spend less, you avoid unnecessary costs, you choose the cheaper option. And every time you do that, it feels like a small win. You saved money, you made a smart decision, but the brain is focusing on something very specific: the immediate cost, not the long-term impact. Because saving money gives instant satisfaction. You pay less now, you feel better now, so your brain starts reinforcing that behavior again and again and again, until something subtle begins to happen. You stop asking a more important question. Not, how much does this cost? But, what is this costing me over time? Because cheap decisions often come with hidden costs. Lower quality, more discomfort, more stress, more time wasted. And sometimes, those costs are not financial at all. They affect your sleep, your energy, your focus, your confidence. But because those consequences are delayed, they are easy to ignore. So the pattern continues. You keep choosing the cheaper option, not because it is better, because it feels safer, because it feels controlled, because it feels like progress. But over time, those small decisions start shaping your environment, and your environment starts shaping you. Until one day, your life reflects not what you could afford, but what you kept choosing to tolerate. Consider something simple. A person decides to save money. Nothing extreme, just small decisions. They buy cheaper clothes, not because they like them, because they cost less. At first, it seems reasonable. They saved money. That's a win. But the clothes don't fit well. They feel uncomfortable all day. They adjust them constantly. They feel less confident. They avoid certain situations, not consciously, but subtly. Over time, it affects how they carry themselves, how they show up, how they interact with people. And that has consequences. Opportunities are missed. First impressions are weaker. Confidence slowly drops. All from something that felt like a smart decision. Saving a small amount of money that quietly cost them much more. Now consider something that looks like a small, smart decision. Someone buys the cheapest mattress they can find. It saves them money, feels responsible, feels practical. At first, nothing seems wrong. They sleep on it every night. They wake up. They go to work. Life continues. But something slowly starts changing. They wake up tired. Their body feels stiff. Their energy is lower than it should be. At work, they struggle to focus. They feel more irritable, less patient, less motivated. They start drinking more coffee, sleeping in on weekends, trying to fix the symptoms, but never addressing the cause. Months pass, then years. Their performance drops. Their mood changes. Opportunities pass them by. Not because they lacked ability, but because they were operating at a lower level every single day. And all of it started with a decision that felt smart. Saving money on something they use every single night. What they saved once ended up costing them every day. Consider someone trying to save money at home. They choose the cheapest options every time. The cheapest heater, the cheapest appliances, the cheapest setup possible. At first, it feels smart. They paid less. They saved money. But something starts happening in the background. The heater runs longer because it's inefficient. The appliances consume more electricity than better alternatives. The house never feels fully comfortable, always a bit too cold, a bit too loud, a bit too frustrating. So they use everything more often just to compensate. More hours, more usage, more energy. Months pass, the bills arrive, higher than expected. But by now, the pattern is already set, and the person keeps repeating the same decisions, trying to save money while slowly spending more. Not because they made a big mistake, because they kept choosing what was cheap instead of what was efficient. Now consider something even more subtle. Food. Someone decides to save money by buying the cheapest options available. No fresh fruit, no vegetables, just processed, low-cost meals that fill you up quickly. At first, it seems like a smart decision. Less money spent, more saved at the end of the month. But something starts changing. Energy drops. Focus becomes weaker. Small health issues begin appearing. Nothing dramatic at first. Just feeling tired more often. Less motivation. More cravings. But instead of connecting it to their choices, they push through it. Weeks pass, then months. And slowly, their body begins reflecting those decisions. Not in one big moment, but in small daily consequences. Lower productivity, worse mood, less confidence. And over time, the money they saved is replaced by something else. Fatigue, health problems, and a quality of life that quietly declines. Not because they couldn't afford better, because they chose not to. Saving money is supposed to protect your future, but not every saving decision moves you forward. Some of them slowly hold you back, because the cheapest option is not always the lowest cost. Sometimes it costs you energy. Sometimes it costs you health. Sometimes it costs you time. And sometimes it costs you opportunities you never even noticed disappearing. The problem is, you don't feel that loss immediately. You only see the number you didn't spend. So it feels like a win, until the consequences start showing up in other areas of your life. And by then, the real cost is already much higher. So the question is not how much money you can save. The question is much simpler. What is that decision actually costing you beyond the price tag?